After 2 long years, Nintendo has finally decided to reveal the new Legend of Zelda, now titled Breath of the Wild, and Sam Trott has joined me to discuss it. My name is Nothing Just Go, and this is NVG Discussion. Okay, Sam, so Nintendo decided to reveal a really big game at E3 today. Mario Party Star Rush. What do you think of that?
Man, I am absolutely ecstatic for this game. Every time that I see a new Mario Party and it says that you're moving together, I'm just like, man, are they bringing back the car? That thing is so great and it made the series so much better. I mean, no.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, let's move on to the lesser known game that they talked about. Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. Before we get into the nitty-gritty details, what was your overall impression of the game?
I really like the looks of the game. I mean, at first I stopped getting as hyped for the game because it's like, you know, we went so long without any news at all on it. But now that I see like the trailer, it's like I am completely blown away, and I am definitely more hyped for this than I have been for any Zelda game yet, and I am so excited for it to come out. How about you?
Honestly, this is what every Zelda game should have been, what I've always wanted it to be, and I think what Nintendo always wanted it to be too. Because this is an open world game like the first Zelda and how they were envisioned, and this is finally it coming to life in a 3D fashion. And I am really glad that they finally took in the step to do this, and they're redefining the conventions. Because before, they kept saying that they wanted to redo the conventions of Zelda, but it would never happen. But finally, this is as different of a Zelda game as Ocarina of Time was as after A Link to the Past. In fact, maybe even more. This honestly feels like a completely different type of game with the Legend of Zelda branding, and that blows my mind completely.
Yeah, I mean, I can completely agree there. I find that Zelda is one of those few series that Nintendo can do complete revamps with this and know what they're doing really well, because I mean it seems like a completely different experience, but wow, it seems like such an enjoyable experience. I just cannot wait to play it, and most of the time when they change one of their series lately, like Paper Mario, any other example like that, I just find
Mario
myself
Party.
Yeah, that too. I just find myself like, oh well, I guess I'll play the old ones again, but this, it's like, line me up, I want this now.
Honestly, I think I prefer these type of games to what Zelda was before. I prefer more of an when you're in this giant world, I prefer to do whatever I want at any time, have no boundaries. I don't like being oh hey, you can't go here until you beat this dungeon. But when you're in this big world, I like to go wherever I want, and finally we can do that in this game.
Yeah, I know it is something that's even with a lot of the other Zeldas, it's you'll go back and play them, it's man, there's this big area, I can go over here, I can go over. It's you need to beat that dungeon first before you can go here. It's oh, so it's really not an open world, it's just a hub. Okay, but this one actually seems like an open world. It's you want to go here, go for it. You want to go up there, why not? Just climb on up.
Yeah, exactly. That's why Wind Waker was my favorite Zelda game, because that was the closest we had to an open world Zelda game, because you can even before you do the next dungeon, you can go around and go to the other squares and fill them all in and see what those had to offer. You just couldn't do the story in any order, and you were limited in some ways. But with this, it's all gone, which I love.
Yeah, because I know that's one of the big reasons why Wind Waker's my favorite, but it's just, even then, it's it's a lot more open, and B, it's a lot more world, because, Wind Waker was a lot of open world. It was more spots on a map, because the rest of it was just an endless vast sea of water. This, it's a lot different, and it's an actual environment. So that's why I honestly can very easily see this at least becoming one of my top 3 favorite Zelda games, if not higher, and it's just pretty much getting revealed at this point, because we had no news beforehand.
Yeah, but now we have so much news. Anyway, so let's move on to 2 of the biggest differences in Breath of the Wild compared to other Zelda games. Firstly, you can no longer find hearts in grass. Instead, how it works is you have to find these collectibles or food and then cook them, and that's how you heal yourself. What do you think about that?
I think I'm really going to miss the risk factor of trying to get hearts from enemies when you're low on hearts, and I am going to miss stuff like that a lot, but it does seem like it adds a lot with how the game itself is. I kind of, just for that risk factor, wish that there was a way for them to integrate both, and have to be both the hearts and the ingredients, but I do feel like it fits really well with how this game style is.
Yeah. Honestly, I don't think it'd be like in an open world game. I don't see the purpose of being able to find hearts, because the reason why the main thing that encourages you to explore is the fact that you need to find all these collectibles that give you different power-ups. If you could find hearts in the grass, there would be no reason to do any of this. All you would have to do is just like, oh, here's a blade of grass, cool, sweet, fully healed. Okay, I'm moving on to the next dungeon now. But this, you have to look around, find all these different ingredients, and then save it for when you need it.
Yeah, and one thing that I've really just thought of is the fact that it does bring out it does get rid of one of the big things that can be an element of frustration. Like, like when you're not at like 1 or 2 hearts where it's a risk, it's like, let's say you're at like 5 hearts out of like 15. You don't have to go, okay, I'll go to this area and kill the enemies. I got 2 hearts, I'll leave, I come back, I get another heart, and you just have to go to the same area over and over. This one, it's like, well, you're gonna go find the ingredients and you're gonna cook, or else you're not getting your hearts. I don't care how many times you go back to this area.
Yeah. Honestly, I'm probably just gonna have so much stockpiled that I won't need to ever like cook when I'm low on health. I'll probably just rely on my like backlog of inventory. So let's move on to the next big change. Now instead of using a sword, you use anything you can find pretty much, and they have weapon durability. What do you think about that?
I can use anything I want, even a sword. But I mean, I actually feel like it's going to add a lot of versatility to the game, because I mean, even from the bit that was shown in the trailers of it, it doesn't seem like in a lot of games like that where it's like, well, you have a sword, or you have this, or you have this, but it really all feels like the same weapon, just like slight differences. Just like the weapons actually look like they will feel completely different to play, and that's one of the reasons why I'm actually so excited for the fact that they are adding all of these different types of weapons. I'm not so sure how I feel about durability, just because I tend to find that it's like, I don't like using weapons when they get it all low, and I have the problem with that, but I feel like it fits this type of game a lot better. The only other question I still have with durability is because of the Master Sword, because it's shown in the it looks like it's shown at the end of the trailer, so clearly you're going to get it. A, it doesn't make any sense for the Master Sword to have durability, and B, it feels like it takes a bit away from, it's like, let's say you go through the whole game like, man, you know what, I really love using this spear, but then it's like, hey, here's the Master Sword. They're obviously not going to have the Master Sword be completely optional to use, so you'll come to a point where you have to start using the sword again, even though there's been a big focus on using whatever you want.
Honestly, I think they're going to solve that by only giving you the Master Sword at the end of the game. Most other games you get it in the middle, but I think with the Master Sword, they'll probably just be like, okay, you're about to do the final dungeon now, here, you can have the Master Sword. But until that point, you won't be able to access it, so that would make a lot more sense.
That would make a lot more sense. I just hope that they don't make it so that, like, it's like, the only problem that I have is that I feel like there is no way that they can justifiably do this. It's like, with the final boss, it's like, traditionally is beat by the Master Sword, so be it. So you'll come to a point where one of two things are going to happen. Either A, you aren't going to use the Master Sword to beat the final boss, which kind of goes against ZELDA conventions and not necessarily in a good way, or B, you're going to have to use the Master Sword to beat the boss, so if you've been practicing with the other weapons, you aren't going to get use of them against the final boss.
I think all the weapons are going to be pretty similar. It depends on their durability and how much damage they do. But like,
I would think that, but like with how, like, even how the spear looks, at like even just the way that it's like, instead of being like slashes, it's a lot more like thrusts, and like he had like jumps and like thrusts down and stuff like that, even just in the trailer. So it actually, like, it looks like it will feel a lot different to use. I mean, if I'm wrong about that and they do end up being very similar, I'm actually going to be disappointed. But it looks like they will play and feel completely differently.
Yeah, that's true. But I guess by that point, like, you would have used all these weapons already. So like, against the final boss, you just can use your conventional sword. Who knows? Or maybe you won't have to use the Master Sword. But why wouldn't you?
Maybe you can get the Master Spear.
The Master Spear. Anyway, another thing that they introduced is clothing. Now, by finding different clothing around, you can change your outfit and give you different stats. I believe it just ups how many heart containers you have, but it also may increase your damage. Is that correct? Or do you not know?
Yeah, I've looked a bit into it. It's like, I find it does seem kind of cool that the clothing does give you the extra effects, but they don't really seem to do a lot. The only thing that I have as a complaint with is that from what I've seen, the green tunic, like that you wear in all the other games, the only effect that gives you is cold resistance plus. Like,
that is the most That is the most random thing I've ever heard. Why would they give you the main outfit just a way to like resist ice? That has to be another outfit that looks like it, and then the hero's tunic is like something you get towards the end of the game that like gives you god powers or something.
I hope so, at least.
Yeah, I don't think that like a normal hero's tunic will just give you like blizzard resist or whatever it is. Another major thing that they're introducing is shrines. There are over 100 of these things in the world, and by completing them you get these orbs, and then by collecting 4 of them you get some sort of upgrade. Like for example, the parasail. What do you think about them?
See, I really like the idea because I know, as an example, whenever I play games like Far Cry, anything like that, I love the fact that you can go around the map and it's like there's all of these optional areas where it's like you go this, you have to secure this area, like bunch like that. I can see the same effect from this, and I feel like that's one of the things that's going to keep me coming back to the game. I mean, I personally will probably have the problem where if I see these things, I'll try and go for them instead of doing the main quest. But at the same time, I really do feel like it'll add a lot to the game, and as long as they're well done and it's like fun to go get them instead of just you go to it, you like fight like one little group of enemies and then you have it. So as long as they do it right, I feel like it will add a lot to the game.
Yeah, exactly. And what I like about it is like it'll be like a nice distraction. Like if I'm heading towards a dungeon, I'll be like, ooh, a shrine, and then I go quickly do the shrine, since I don't think they take too long. They're pretty much just mini dungeons. And then by completing them, then I get a reward. Then when I get a certain amount, I can get some sort of upgrade. And it seems exciting to me, like finding out like what these upgrades could be. Like I think another one could be like a stamina meter upgrade. And another idea I have is Epona's not really in these trailers. Perhaps like you get Epona by getting a certain amount of orbs or something.
Yeah, that could definitely be cool to have Epona that way, because it's like with the fact that there's all there's like the wild horse and everything that you wrangle, I feel like it would maybe a little redundant to have Epona you can just call, unless there's like going to be areas where you can't get, where you don't have the wild horses, at which point I feel like it will make those irrelevant, because like why would you wrangle a wild horse and try and tame it when you can just call Epona and there she is.
Yeah.
It does seem really cool to have as an optional thing like that, and I could definitely see that.
Yeah, like in Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask, Epona is also optional, but she's really useful because this is a huge land, and you'd probably need her to like get around quick, because this Hyrule here is 12 times the size of Twilight Princess's Hyrule.
Yeah, and that is definitely impressive. It's going to be really fun to explore, that's for sure.
Yeah, so I don't see Epona just being given to you. I think she'd have to be something that you'd work for, because she's really, really necessary.
I mean, you can just walk. I'm sure it's not that far. You didn't want to actually do the dungeons, did you?
Yeah, exactly. But going back to the shrine, another reason why I like these shrines a lot is because there's probably going to be huge breaks between the dungeons. But by doing these shrines, it gives you that fix of being inside a dungeon, and you can do them like as often as you want. Because there's so many of them. Like I'm sure you'll find one really easily because of how common they are.
Yeah, I feel like they'll probably have it with, where there's a lot of them that you can find wherever, and just have like one or two of them that are, well, probably more than one or two of them, obviously, but just having a few that are like hard to come by, so that you actually have to go searching for those ones while not making them all be super hard to find.
Yeah, I'm sure there'll be some hard ones, but I also think like since there's so many of them, you'll find them pretty easily. The problem is like towards the end you might have trouble locating them because there'll be less and less for you to do.
True, and I can definitely agree with you on that one.
Yeah, I'm just so excited. Like, I can like if I feel like it, I can do these shrines like at any time I want, and I can just find them and like do a dungeon at random points instead of being like, okay, I have to do 3 hours of game. Okay, now I can do the dungeon. But a shrine, you could probably do like 5 minutes after you complete a dungeon, or even 5 minutes after you complete a shrine.
Yeah, I really hope that they, one thing though that I have thought of is that I really hope that they have some sort of like a map to keep track of them, because I would hate the thought of, okay, well I have 5 shrines left to do. This map is literally 12 times the size of the Hyrule of the map in Twilight Princess. Have fun finding it.
I honestly think there'll be skip travel points as well, like once you find them, because they said there's skip travel in this game, you can go to certain locations. I'm going to assume that all the shrines will be those things you can teleport to.
I could see it, that it does give you a lot of teleportation spots, but that's not necessarily a bad thing.
That's true, but I'm sure there'll be some way to like manage what the shrines you found and stuff. If not, that'd be really stupid. Anyway, so let's move on to... They actually showed off 3 new items in the trailer. The first thing is the Korok leaf. It's pretty much kind of similar to the Deku leaf. What do you think about that?
I actually like it quite a bit. I find it more like the Gust Jar than Deku Leaf, just because of the fact that it's like you don't use it for gliding. I mean, because you don't have to use it for gliding, mind you. But it's like I do like having the Gust Jar and stuff like that in games because I feel like it does make for some pretty cool puzzle solving, and especially like the part of the the part in the video where where you're like on a boat and you're using the Deku Leaf. I mean, not Deku Leaf, but this leaf that you can actually sail the boat. So I actually do feel like it will add quite a bit to the game, but it's more of like. I don't feel like it'll be one of the most useful items, but I feel like it'll be cool to use.
Yeah, exactly. You pretty much summed up all that I have to say about it. It's just cool to have like a unique item that's not like hook shot, bow and arrow, bombs. I mean, we still have that, but this is like a new item being introduced that might be used quite a bit. So I'm glad about that. The other item that was introduced was, I don't remember what it's called, but pretty much you have the power of magnetism. That is so cool, because it's going to allow, like, so many creative puzzles.
Yeah, I know I saw, like, even just a part of the trailer where where Link uses the magnetism to, like, pick up, like, a bar of stuff and then drop it on enemies. That was one of the big points in the trailer where I was like, holy, this is going to be a different experience. And I am very excited for to be part of this, because it does, like... It seems to go along with the fact that there'll be different ways of solving puzzles. It's like, you don't want to fight these enemies, you can hit down this beehive, you can roll a rock on them, you can pick up this and drop it on them. Like, you have so many more options for what you can do instead of, well, these things are there, you can pull it a sword, I mean, you can pull it a hammer, you can throw bombs at them if you want to stay back here. So it really does add a lot, I find.
It's also that the magnetism allows for... They said that for the puzzles, there's going to be different ways of solving them. And I think magnetism will be one way of solving them. It allows for, like, you to, like, have different options on how you can go about a puzzle instead of just figuring out the one way that they have in mind. So that's something I'm really excited for, this power as well. Hopefully it's just used a lot.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those items where it's like, it will be pretty disappointing if it's like, well, I have this item, I've gone up through about 3 dungeons, I haven't seen a single spot to use it. Ooh, there's one metal thing over there, I can pick it up and roll it at enemies. Yay, that was a good use of my time.
Yeah, but I don't think it's, like, you're right, it doesn't seem that much of a situational power-up. You can use it for, like, different things as well, like for, like, controlling a boulder and a beehive and stuff, so it probably will be used quite a bit, and it's an item for Zelda games that should have always been there.
I think one of them did have a magnet glove, but it just wasn't used very much.
Yeah, but in a 3D game, it's useful.
Yeah.
Plus, there's going to be a lot more different puzzles this time around. Anyway, so let's move on to the third item. We didn't see much of it, but you can, like, lift water and turn it into a cube or something?
Yeah, it's like, it's the one where Link had it, where he has the rod, and he, like, I'm not sure if he materialized the cube, or if he, like, just turned the water into it, but he, like, made a cube out of the water in the middle of it, and then, like, jumps onto it and climbs up it, and I actually really like the fact that it's like that, because it'll make for more platforming elements, like, through areas like that, but I'm not sure if it will be only used in water, or if it's that you can use it wherever to make more platforms, which I kind of hope that you can use it wherever, just because it does make for a lot of, okay, well, I can't go into that, it's a little bit farther away, but if I can make this here, I can jump across and onto that, and it would do a lot for having extra ways to solve a puzzle, whereas if you can only do it with water, I mean, if there's a situation where you can use this in water to get past it, there's probably not going to be any other situation you can use in that way to get past it, so...
Imagine if the item is just like, I can drop a block on you. That'd be hilarious.
That'd be pretty
like, boom,
funny, too.
block.
It's like, oh, well...
Minecraft attack! Block! Okay, so I've been saving this topic for last, and don't mind me if I go on like a 2-minute thing to talk about what I have in mind, but the story of this game, I think, to put it simply, there's 2 placements of the timeline this could be. This is either in the far future, like after... I think for sure it's in the Wind Waker timeline, because we saw those species from Wind Waker, like the leaf guys. I think that it's either going to be like way after Spirit Tracks, or like right before Wind Waker, like before the flood, like the precursor to that. We know Ganon's going to be in this game because... they mentioned him in like one of the shrines, and also that like there's this like dark magic around Hyrule Castle that's called the something Calamity Ganon, and that pretty much is what laid waste to Hyrule. Though it'd be kind of weird if this took place after Spirit Tracks. Does that mean Hyrule would have had 2 apocalypses by that point?
Why only 2? Just give them a few more. Why not? But
Yeah,
honestly, I can see it. I mean, I feel like it'll be after the. I mean, I feel like it makes a lot more sense to have it after the flood, just because of the fact that the Korok, like the Leaf guys, are in it when they haven't been. When the only other thing that they've really been in is Wind Waker, which is around that same time. And
Well, it could-
I'm kind of
sorry,
hoping
go
that. Oh, sorry. I'm kind of hoping that the Dorito are in there too for the same reason, because that would help again to confirm its spot on it. But I could definitely see it being around there on the timeline.
It's also possible it could be like right before Wind Waker, because those guys existed before Wind Waker, so this could be like their introduction to the timeline or something.
True.
Yeah, but I definitely see it being after Wind Waker. It's also that like in the beginning of the game, you wake up from stasis, so that makes me think that this is like a futuristic type Zelda game.
Yeah, and it's like the more I think about it, it's like with the fact that there is like the actual Hyrule, I'm not sure. Like I'm trying to think of like where it would make more sense for it to be with that. Cause with the fact that it actually is like more of a falling apart Hyrule, it can't really be like. I mean, the more I think about it, it can't be before Wind Waker, because there wouldn't be a Hyrule for you to be in if it was before Wind Waker.
Yeah, there was a Hyrule before Wind Waker, then it got flooded.
Oh, I mean, oh, okay. I was talking in terms of like after the flood and before. I mean, like between the flood and Wind Waker. I mean.
Oh no, I think this is gonna take place before the flood.
That could very well be too. I was more so like when I was saying with it, I was thinking about it in terms of if it was before it. But yeah, I feel like it would have to be either before the flood or after Wind Waker. But there isn't like it can't really be in between them.
Yeah, no, it can't be. It can't be between them. I think but I'm pretty sure it's gonna be after Spirit Tracks. But again, 2 apocalypses is kind of weird.
I never really played Spirit Tracks. I always just assumed that it was after Phantom Hourglass, which was after Wind Waker.
Yeah, no, Spirit Tracks, they rebuilt Hyrule. So pretty much, okay, good, we rebuilt Hyrule after the apocalypse. Here's another apocalypse. So I don't know, but I don't think they think about it that much. But yeah, I'm pretty sure you're right. It's going to be in the future. It's weird. I had this pegged down like before we knew anything before Skyward Sword, but I doubt that's true now. So it's also cool. The beginning of the game, they said what happens, you just wake up and then you go exploring. You get the story as you go. Instead of just having this like 2-hour setup for the story, you get it as you go. So what do you think of just being thrown into this world without any context?
I feel like it'll be pretty cool. I mean, I feel like it'll be pretty cool to have more of a like finding your own way and like finding it. So it's more of like back with the original Zelda and stuff like that, where it's like, here, go on your way. But there's a lot more to it because there's a lot more that you can do. But I do feel like it's a lot more preferable to, oh, you wake up, here's your fairy, hey, listen to it for a while, it's going to tell you things that you can probably figure out very easily on your own, and you can get back to the actual game in about 2 hours.
Yeah. Speaking of that, they said that there's no companion in this game, but yet, when you start the game, there's someone talking to you, saying, wake up. Do you think they were lying and there's a companion, or do you think that's just like Zelda somehow telepathically contacting you?
That I've been trying to come up with something for, and I am actually completely there's a lot of possibilities it could be. I mean, I've seen stuff like with people predicting if it's like a narrator talking to you, which seems like a little bit of a cop out, but it's like it could be Zelda, it could be, there's so much it could be, and it's like, I don't know. I feel like it'll be some character who who will be important to the game who hasn't been revealed yet, and I feel like it'll be like you'll hear their voice. Like, I just kind of get this vibe that with like the way it's doing that, and that there's nothing really talked about them so far. I feel like if I'm right about that, then it'll be some important character. It's like there'll be some sort of like big thing where it's like you meet them, it's like they go on from there. But
I honestly think since it's not a companion, it's Zelda. I mean, it kind of has to be Zelda. But also, what do you think of that there's voice acting in this game? They said that not every character will be voice acted, but in like a lot of cutscenes and stuff, there will be voice acting. What do you think about that?
That's definitely something that's very cool to have. I mean, it's one of those types of things where it's like you always think like, man, this would be cool for it, but you don't really actually expect it. I mean, I've always thought like it'd be cool if there's, I mean, it's like, man, this conversation would be cool if it was voice acted, but I never seriously expected it to happen. So I mean, it's definitely a pretty cool thing to have in that sense.
Yeah, exactly. Plus, it makes Zelda feel a lot more modern and less outdated, because pretty much every game has voice acting now. Like, why doesn't Zelda?
Because Link can't talk, and Link, it seems a bit sillier if people talk and they're like actually like saying full sentences and you just answer, yeah.
No, but it could be. I know you're joking, but that's like what like Mass Effect and most RPGs do, where like there's people voice acting you, then you give like you choose your response like with the scroll wheel or something.
I can't see you choosing a response. Like, that doesn't seem like... I mean, like...
It was in Skyward Sword.
Oh, right. I actually forgot that there was precedent for it. I was going to say, it just doesn't seem like it fits with one, but then I completely forgot that it was in Skyward. So that actually does make sense then.
Yeah. No, that's probably what's going to happen, but, like, there will be... You have to respond to all these NPCs around. Speaking of NPCs, there's another thing I want to talk to you going back to the theories we had. I forgot to mention, that old guy looks remarkably like King Daphnis, also known as the King of Red Lions. So, if this is either like his descendant, a coincidence, or like right before the flood happens, where he's still alive and the king or something.
It seems like the type of thing where it's the first character you see and stuff like that. I feel like it, and where it does seem like it would place up like in a similar area on the timeline, like in the same timeline. I don't feel like it can be a coincidence. There has to be some point to it, because it just seems too weird to just have like, oh, this just happened to happen.
Yeah, well, maybe they just modeled it to be like King Daphnis as like an Easter egg, but there's no story context for it. They've done that before, I think.
Yeah, but I don't think that they'll have had it with like the first character you'll find with stuff like that without some sort of like nod to it being the reference. And with the fact that it was such a big character, it was only revealed like it was actually only like actually shown at the end of Wind Waker. With the fact that it doesn't seem like it seems like it has to be intentional, and I can't see it being intentional without them having some sort of nod to the character.
So you think it is him from the same person from Wind Waker, a descendant, or like reincarnated or something?
I feel like it could be any of the above, but I feel like it has to be like one of those instead of just being some random guy who just...
Yeah,
It's like, man, I look like the king. How's it going?
Yeah, no, it definitely is connected to Daphnis. Like, that's not even like a question. I'm just wondering like how he's connected, which...
I would like to be able to answer that, but with there being so much like where it can be on the timeline, it affects a lot of what the answer to that can be.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, Sam, so what do you think about the title of this game?
I was pretty surprised when I heard the title. Like, at first, I know I got asked about, like, it was you even who was asking me, like, hey, the name is Breath of the Wild, and I'm like, what does that mean? Is it a new Game of Thrones book? Is it a new, what is it? And it's like, I'm like, what does that mean? And it's like, you have 3 guesses, and I'm like, no, what does that mean? Because it doesn't sound like a Zelda title, but the more thinking about it and letting it set in, it actually, like, it seems cool, and it actually seems to fit, like, with how, like, it seems to fit the game very well, but it just doesn't feel like a Zelda title, so it took a while. I was like, I wasn't going to be guessing that.
Yeah, Anuma did that intentionally because he was saying how most Zelda games are named after an item, but they wanted the actual wilderness to be the focus of the game, because that's what they've understandably put the most amount of work into. So naming it, like, after the wilderness makes a lot more sense. I couldn't have asked for a more fitting and epic name. Like, I honestly find this name to be chilling. It's a title. I mean, it's just a title, but it's so much fun to say the name of the title. It's a really cool title in my opinion, and I did not think I'd be so passionate about a title.
Yeah, I'm really glad that it is. But we never know, though. It could actually fit how most of the other games are. And for all that we know, Breath of the Wild could be an item. I mean, maybe instead of you creating blocks on top of people, you blow the wind and then a tree appears on top of them and falls on them.
Yeah, that makes sense with the timeline theory we had as well.
Maybe that's why there's another apocalypse.
Yeah, exactly. So, I know we're both kind of impartial to this, but I really couldn't help find that the Wolf Link Amiibo integration is one of the coolest Amiibo uses in any game ever.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's one of those few, I mean, like, I really like it when they have the Amiibos actually be used with it, and I find that one of the things that I was thinking, it's like, man, this actually makes me consider getting Twilight Princess, like, the Wii U version with the Wolf Link a bit more, because, like, it actually does seem like a really cool thing to have with you, as long as it's not too overpowered, where it's like, okay, Wolf Link, kill everyone, okay, they're all dead, let's move on. But as long as it's not, like, too overpowered as a thing, it's just, like, a more of a cool to have thing, I think it'll be, like, really cool to have that as your companion.
Well, how it works is that he takes 3 hits, then he's gone, and then you can't use him for another day.
I was hearing that it's like his hearts are based on, I forget the actual name of the place, but because I haven't actually played through Twilight Princess, but that it's supposed to be that his amount of health is based on how how many hearts you had at a certain point in Twilight.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's just like I have it right here, so I'm just going.
So like the amount of hearts he has is based on like the Cave of no, it's not the Cave of Ordeals, it's the Cave of Shadows. Like when you, that's really cool. Like when you beat the Cave of Shadows, the amount of hearts you have reflects onto the Wolf Link. But that make him,
Wolf Link has a default of 3 hearts, but if the amiibo has save data from Twilight Princess HD, it has the same number of hearts as the save file.
That is really, really cool. I didn't even know that, but it's kind of OP. I mean, he'd last forever then.
Yeah, that's the reason why I'm unsure with it, because like it's one of those things where it's like, if it's like cool and integrated, I would like to get it, but at the same time, I don't want to get it and have it be like super overpowered and be like, okay, well, you have more health than I do. No reason for me to go in and fight.
Yeah, maybe he just takes, maybe like the AI isn't as good as and he takes hits more. Who knows? I don't really have an amiibo, but going back to what you were saying, it reminds me of a story. My brother, who's a filthy casual gamer, he doesn't really game much, but he likes Zelda games. He keeps tabs on them. When he was watching the amiibo footage, he hated amiibos before, but then he suddenly was like, "Oh my god, I want the Wolf Link amiibo! It's so cool!" Like this is the first amiibo that actually like impressed me with what it did. It's not just like costumes or like clothes or anything. This actually feels like it's brought into the game, which has impressed me a lot.
Yeah, this is honestly like the type of thing that I was hoping that Amiibo would be when it was first announced. I know it's like a lot of it that, I mean, a lot of the Amiibo uses have been like, well, I mean, I have the Amiibo, so that's cool, but it's not going to make me at all want to go get the Amiibo. Whereas this is one of the few exceptions where it's like, I would actually very much consider getting the Wolf Link Amiibo just to be able to try it out with the game.
Yeah, exactly. I'm sure they'll be sold separately by the time Breath of the Wild comes out, because I don't think they'd expect players to buy like a $60 game just to get the Amiibo.
One would be surprised, though. I mean, I guess if you buy the Amiibo, they'll expect you to have the 3-heart one, but...
Yeah, that's a good point, but you'd be stuck with a 3-heart one, but oh well, sucks for you. That's what you get for not buying their other game. It's actually really good marketing now that I think about it.
Yeah, really, though. It's like, well, you can have 3 hearts, or if you want to play through this one, too, you have a really strong friend to help you.
That is really good marketing. Too bad my Twilight Princess save data got corrupted. Oh, well.
Oh.
What?
Found how the magnet works.
How does it work?
Basically, you know the Sheikah slate thing that you have?
Yeah?
That's what does the magnetism. It lets you pick up and interact with the metal objects, so you can use it for puzzle solving, and you like shift large metal plates and stuff like that, and you can like pull out of reach treasure chests to you, and you can pick up any, like metal objects to drop on enemies, or manipulate swords and axes. And
oh, that's pretty cool.
And you can use it for like remote bombs. Wait, what?
That's really cool.
They're no longer a perishable resource and are instead produced by the remote bomb rune on the Sheikah slate.
It's yeah. Another use that the Sheikah slate has that I forgot to mention is that it's the thing that allows you to skip travel. Like you teleport with the Sheikah slate.
Okay, so basically your bombs are, you're basically it makes your bombs, and you can make like spherical bombs or a square bomb, and the spherical one you roll, or the square one it stops from rolling away from any boulders or walls you need to demolish, and your remote bomb so you can detonate them whenever you want.
Oh wow, that's really
you use
cool.
stasis, so it's like you can freeze certain objects in time, like stopping incoming boulders and stuff like that.
Yeah, I knew about the freezing time thing, I just didn't really understand what it did, but now I understand how it works. Like it's used with the magnetism? Or is it a completely different thing?
Oh, it's a completely different thing. It's like, for
see.
example, you can use, because it stores kinetic energy, it's like you can freeze something in time, beat it with weapons, and then when the stasis runs out, that energy is released, and it will like launch previously immovable objects because of the force. And then there's also the cryonis, like the freezing thing, and it's producing pillars of ice in any body of water. So it is in water, but it's used as like stepping stones, like to lift closed gates and stuff like that.
Oh, so that's not an item. That's just the Sheikah stone then.
Right. It's the same as the magnet though, because the magnet isn't an item either.
Oh, it's not an item. Okay, that makes a lot more sense now. Well, thank you, Sam, for joining me on this discussion. It was actually a lot of fun to talk, more fun than I thought to talk about this game. Like my hype died after. Well, it didn't die, but after watching the live stream, I'm like, okay, it's a good game. I'm looking forward to it again. But now I'm like super hyped after talking about it with you. Like, I'm actually really excited for this game. You?
Yeah, because of the fact that I was at work during the day, I'm just like I had read a little, I had like watched the trailer. I didn't even have sound for the trailer until I got home, right before we did this discussion. But I've basically just picked up on all of the, this whole influx of news on it all at once. That's why I'm still so hyped going into it, because I haven't had the few hours or so since it was announced to go into it. I am see all of this. Now let's go.
Yeah. Like you didn't, the information didn't digest for you. Like you're still, like you just got it, like right, you just got the information right now. So yeah. Can it be March already or like September?
November, holiday
November.
2017.
It totally is going to be, isn't it? They love delaying this game.
Gonna get delayed in favor of the Nintendo Wii U S with 4K graphics.
No. The Wii U S is just a slim version. Then the Wii U, what's that thing called again?
The Scorpio.
Yeah, the Wii U Scorpio will be what the NX is, where it's just a Wii U with like better graphics and stuff. But like, don't worry, if you don't want it, you can get the Wii U S coming out the year before.
Don't worry, we'll still release Zelda with the NX after both of these, so you don't have to worry. You can get it.
No, the
then.
NX is just a Wii U Scorpio.
Right.
Yeah, silly Sam. They're not actually making a new console. Just a
That's
mid-gen
shame.
upgrade. Anyway, later, man.
Yeah.
And once again, thank you guys for tuning into another NVG discussion. If you like what you see and you want to see more of it, click here to subscribe to be notified of future discussions that I do. Or if you want, you can check out all the other stuff that I do. Seriously, it's crazy how much I do. Now, if you excuse me, I'm going to stop self-ego boosting and go do something else with my life. Later.